Welcome back. It's Michael Rogers. Welcome to Bodywork Boxing. Sucker free Saturdays, man. Sucker free Saturdays today. I've been under the weather this week. So I said, man, I'm gonna give my folks, the ones who rock with me, the ones who catch my playbacks, the ones who don't like me, but be checking in, you know what I'm saying? I said, I'll spare them because I was feeling under the weather. But getting over that, you know what I'm saying? And shoot, they done switched up the schedule, so I've been on call, so had to go on call, had to run out today, man. I was just trying to lay around and recoup, you know what I'm saying? And I knew some boxing was coming on, but I figured, you know, I would get to stay home. Nope. I had to go out and get it how I live. You heard me? But I just been watching, you know, and I'm one of them. I'm one of the content creators that will actually allow themselves to be a fan. I know a lot of times we hear all the time that, oh man, I'm not a fan. That's short for fanatic and all this and all that, whatever. You know what I'm saying? But the kind of boxers that I like are obsessed with boxing. And boxing is a niche market, you know what I'm saying? If you don't have the love, you can come on the scene and get a big spark and be a big flash in the pan, and you know, but you get the wave riding and shucking and jiving, you fall out. I've seen a lot of people fall out, man. That's why I might not be as frequent as everybody, but I'm authentic. That's one thing I can say. It's authentic, man. And I don't really change my stances, man. I rock with who I rock with, and when it comes down to speaking, you know, what I need to speak about the boxers that I like, I'm gonna tell the truth. I try not to shame them. You know, when I was in fan mode, I was just reminded, man, that just because I look at a lot of places online when it comes to boxing, like little clubs or little bars or little hangout spots where you could just, you know what I'm saying, if I'm in this mood to hear about this, I go there. If I'm in this mood to hear this, and I go about there. And the more and more I do that, I'm feeling more compelled not to react on what people are saying in these places, you know what I'm saying? Because once again, I'm just there to frequent whatever the topic is. If it's something that, you know what I'm saying, I'm one of the ones that'll show up and be like, hey, what's up? What's going on? All salute. You know what I'm saying? Oh, yeah, y'all cooking. I might not agree 100%, you know what I'm saying? But I'm there showing support. And I'm trying to get out of the habit of always responding to something I hear and, you know what I'm saying, being bothered by, because I just think that we, you know, I think I put out something saying that is boxing on life support. You go back in my video, you can see something where I put up, is boxing on life support, or is it in critical condition, right? And then I see Paulie Malignaggi saying something about boxing dying, you know, and all this, and people, they're overreacting to this whole, you know, PBC, you know, not going through Showtime or Showtime getting out of boxing, and just a lot of things swirling around, man. And you can get caught up in the weeds. You can get caught up in you know, a lot of the people saying, oh, I'm not for one promotional company. But then when you look at everybody who they rock with, it's all one promotional company. Or you say, oh man, I'm not a fan of boxers, I'm a fan of the sport, and then it's all these exceptions for certain boxers. You know what I'm saying? So I just been looking at boxing, and I think it's in a healthy place. Boxing is one of those things to where the powers that be already know the moves, you know, 2-3 steps ahead. It's almost like the phones we got right now. Like the phone you got in your hand, in all actuality, is outdated. They already, in order for it to roll out, they already have things that's more advanced. We know this. I knew this working at Verizon, man. The technology and the things at hand is antiquated compared to what is being played with and toyed with, because in technology, you always got to stay ahead of the game. So I was analyzing a lot of things, and I was saying, man, in this boxing game, it's almost like the boxing gods versus the suits. And as fans, you know what I'm saying, we pretty much praying to the boxing guys, and then seeing what happened with, you know, the decisions that the suits made. Now, every now and again, you know what I'm saying, we'll get something to where we'll see what we really wanted. We'll get what we really wanted. We'll get what we've been waiting for. But when I start looking at all of the big fights this year, and I look at the outcomes, and I look at how competitive they were, or, you know, what people said before, during, and after the fights, and I just realized, man, that the suits really run stuff. Yeah. The suits really run things, you know what I'm saying? Because just objectively looking, man, we still have people out there voicing their opinions who have great followings. They voicing their opinions, and they get these followings that really don't complement what us as boxing fans really want. You know what I'm saying? Like, they really don't complement what we desire as fans. It's actually kind of counterproductive. And you know, I unfortunately, I hear a lot of people complaining about the sport of boxing and what we ain't getting, and what we can't get, and what we can't do, and what we haven't seen, and why this ain't that. I hear a lot of complaining, but in the same breath, I didn't support this, I'm not buying this. It's like, and then you expect the suits to really listen to anything you got to say. That's why I'd be like, what is it really all about? But I digress from that, you know what I'm saying? I just be listening to the major players and watching what's going on, who's shaking and moving, and who got what going on. And I start connecting dots, and I start saying, look, man, we better start tuning into what the suits have to say. You know what I'm saying? And unfortunately, it's getting to the point to where you got to play a good enough game to where you can talk to both sides all the time. I seen a recent interview, man, where I was impressed, where somebody talked to one side in this camp, and then somebody talked to another fighter right here, and they was able to get straight up and down answers, like straight from the horse's mouth. You know, I think this internet thing and how social media is and how the game is going, I think that a lot of time right now, man, we really got to pay attention to what the suits are doing. It's not always bad, but just like I was talking about that technology, they got to stay ahead of the game. They got to stay ahead of the crowd. They got to make moves. And a lot of times so far, man, the suits are pretty much 2-0 as far as fights that they, you know, alleged that they didn't really want, but that was forced and pushed and actually went about going on. You think about it, the suits are 2-0 as far as them not wanting it and we getting it and seeing the outcome that we got. You know what I'm saying? So when they start saying, hey, I'm making this move, I'm doing that move, this happened in time, this will happen, we kind of got to settle down. You know what I'm saying? You can't get moved by things that you hear, because I say this all the time now, I've been saying it a lot more recently, and this is that. What is it, Mike? It's the fact that the way the game is going, how can I put it? How could I break this down into its simplest form? It's best laid plans. It's best laid plans, man. You know, I think a lot of people can't really divide the conversation between the business of boxing and the sport of boxing. And when we're talking about that, you gotta realize that everything you hear regarding the sport because this is a sad reality. The suits are catering to the casuals. Why? Because it's hardcores that no matter what happens in boxing, we're gonna pay attention. We're not even all invested. It's some hardcore that don't buy fights, that are content with fire sticking and you know what I'm saying? Basically, in this economy, I mean, you can make an argument as to whatever, but you got hardcore that's not supporting it. So what are the suits left with? Because you could be a hardcore where you talk about it all day, every day. It's on your mind all day, every day. But they really are catering to the casual fan. Because much like how some people used to watch football, like myself, who kind of got away from that because they saw some things in the game. You know what I'm saying? Like me, I was following boxing all my life. Mike Tyson broke my heart, man. You know what I'm saying? When I was in the army, that was the last time I used to buy fights and have parties and cookouts and get together, shooting the dominoes, rolling the dice, having a couple of drinks, watch the fight, then go out, you know what I'm saying, and tear the city down. Used to do that all the time. When I seen that fight with Tyson, I said, man, my heart was broken, man, because he went in there, he didn't fight, then he got up there and was basically saying, I'm basically trying to just get a check, you know, I just want to feed my family. I was like, what? You want me to take the white and leave the white? So my heart was broken, but I realized, man, that's when I left, and I was like, I felt like I was a hardcore back then. But when I look at it, it's like the suits are catering to the casual, because if every day they can get somebody to stop watching baseball and start watching boxing, stop watching MMA and start watching boxing, stop doing this, or because you like this social media person, or because you like this personality, I cannot get you over to the sport of boxing. So a lot of things that's said and done is being catered to the casual fan. So when you hear things on the internet, I think a lot of people already understand that they got to cater to the casual fan too. So, you know, it could be some very good things said. It could be some very good things shown and illustrated and all that. But you got to think, man, if you on that big, wide, broad road, you know what I'm saying, you're probably being misled. And you buying into something from a casual perspective. It's not until you say, you know what, bump it. I just want to go with what I know, go with the brass tacks and bolts. I'm not going to ignore this. I'm you know what I'm saying, I'm gonna focus on that. It's not until you break it down and where you can really see, man, that everybody have their own set of politics. Don't get swept up in these things that cater to the casual fan, regardless if you don't like it. That's why I've come to a point. I've seen some things, you know, in the sport of boxing here lately that I say, hey, man, who am I to say what about this? Who am I to say what about that? It's the business versus the sport. You know what I'm saying? And right now, it's a lot of people that's catering to the casuals, right? You know, I said today I was going, you know, just touch on Tank real quick. And I hear a lot of people always saying that he ain't this, he ain't that, he's not a star, he's overrated, he ain't fought nobody. It's like, that's the big, broad, narrow path. Like, if you see anybody that say he ain't fought nobody, you already know that that's memorization and regurgitation with no hesitation. That's exactly what that is. You got to be able to recognize that and say, hey, look, you know what I'm saying? I might not, because you got to think about it like this. There was a lot of people clamoring for Tank to fight Naoya Inoue. Now, some things will have to happen. Naoya will have to move up again. He's already in his 5th weight class. He will have to move up 3 more weight classes just to get to Tank, if Tank didn't come down one. But if you think about it, after Bud put on that performance against Spence, what did Bud say? Oh, if he think that my chin is soft, tell him come touch it. Well, newsflash, I don't care where you have him, but number 1, number 2, pound for pound right now is Terrence Bud Crawford and Naoya Inoue. I'm not going to argue with you if you want to flip-flop them either way, but I'm going to give you another newsflash. In a 12-month time frame, coming up here in December, I think it'll be right outside of a 12 month. It might be 13 months. In that short of a time frame, Naoya Inoue is going for those other 2 belts. Where he just moved up to 122, took on the unified champ, Stephen Fulton. He's going to go get those other 2 belts in December. By the letter of the law, that's double undisputed, and that's doing it faster than anybody, moving up, taking the straps from somebody who some people had Stephen Fulton on their pound for pound list. But Tank was linked, and he is being linked to a fight with him and a fight with Terrence Bud Crawford, who everybody rate #1 pound for pound. Now, people didn't want to see Jermell Charlo move up and fight Canelo Alvarez. They didn't want to see that, but then, the numbers say that, 650 to 700,000 actually did want to see it. I actually supported because Jermell Charlo was fighting. I supported the fight, like always. I'm one of them ones that's going to support, man, because it's like, to a certain extent, it's all we got left, really, man. If it get any more novelty, we ain't gonna see anybody fighting anybody. I seen the licensed nurse just get in there and finish somebody off on this DAZN call as I'm waiting for Joe Smith and Zerto to go and get into the ring. But we gotta think about these things. We gotta start looking at boxing different, man. You can't be getting caught up in these frivolous conversations about boxing because they know that you are seeking some kind of drama. They want to get you riled up or revved up, because it's crazy how at certain points in times they can tell you all about the mental health for this or this person doing this psychedelic drug or that person was caught on camera doing all this. And it always be, people who look like Adrian Broner or Jermell Charlo or something like that, but they won't show you the videos of Canelo Alvarez dancing with his daughter like that. But then they'll say, oh man, and they'll rag on this person and that person, like this fighter and that fighter, like a Adrian Broner, like a Jermell Charlo, like a Mal Charlo, like the twins. They'll rag on them, or you'll hear all these negative things about them. But then there's a proven track record against somebody like Canelo, and they won't say anything because of fear of the backlash and how it's all. Because people don't really like the truth. They don't like proof and they don't like the truth. And I just found out that they really don't like the numbers either. So don't get caught up, don't get swayed in some of these boxing political conversations where somebody might spare or make somebody seem hopeless only to the end of their defeat, try to get on you for feeling passionate about as to, basically breaking it down as to how they could have won or what they could have did better. They don't want you to be critical. But they're critical of certain fighters every day. Don't get caught up, man. Like, look at the bones of boxing. I think a lot of people are being distracted saying, well, if Showtime is leaving boxing, they was all like, oh man, is this just like HBO? And, I heard a whole bunch of snickering and whining and this and this and this. People saying, oh man, they going to Amazon. I'm like, last time I checked, man, Amazon is showing up 2 and 3 times sometimes to people's house, the same people home. Depending on how they bundle that and see that might be a mega leap. I was just telling somebody very close to me today that, man, maybe being on one of them kind of networks, you know what I'm saying? Maybe they figured out that if they can do that online with the online presence, with access and discounts to be able to get it, I was like, man, that would cut out so much of the pie. Boxers are getting paid, real fights can happen, pay as you weigh, even if it's pay-per-view style with a discount. The suits know something, because just like I go back to this technology with these phones and these computers that we have right now in our houses, you know what I'm saying, in our hands, that we ride around and utilize every day. That's antiquated technology. The suits know what's going on. You can say this and this and that, like, oh man, this person can't sell and this and this and that. Last time I checked, Gervonta Tank Davis did 1.2 million. Ryan Garcia isn't even, I don't even know if this is going to be, I don't even think it is a pay-per-view. This is just a regular fight. So, I mean, people want to discredit that. Last time I checked, he did 1.2. Last time I checked, the dates and times and the timelines for him to even be able to try to seek some kind of anything with Haney, it was over with. He was already, man, Eddie was in an interview the other day talking about how Devin said after Undisputed, he was coming back anyway. He always said he was coming back after he went and handled that business anyway. That was best laid plans. Shakur Stevenson came out and told us, he said, well, yeah, he said, I'll never know. And I got the recording. Now I'm going to probably break it out as I build on this De Los Santos fight, because I got to paint a picture as to how we got to De Los Santos for everybody who wants to be talk about boxing like they're inebriated. You know what I'm saying? Like they really don't know what's going on, or they have a political agenda. I got to outline how we actually got to that fight. That's one of the things on the menu as to how we got there. But if Dev was negotiating with Regis and we actually got that fight, and that timeline, it just don't add up to where Tank could have even, you know, but you still got people talking about how Tank ducked this. Is like, he's officially made it to the spot where everybody wants, like, it's a large portion of people that want to see him lose, but it's a big portion of people who just can't stand to see this man win. You know what I'm saying? But then he do have a huge, diverse fan base. For some reason, even though he don't be in front of the cameras and all that, people resonate with him. It's a realness about him. It's a genuineness about him. You know what I'm saying? That resonate with people. And a lot of people don't like that. And he's doing it Frank Sinatra way. You know what I'm saying? Doing it his way. You know what I'm saying? I think that a lot of us influenced by the tutelage and the people that he was affiliated with that actually got him to this point, who have a vested interest in him. We can't ignore that. But he really run boxing right now. The fact that every time you argue who's the face and his name pops up, you know what I'm saying, along with Canelo Alvarez, who shared the ring with Floyd and many other legends, whether they was in their prime or not, he's shared the ring with a lot of different people. The fact that Tank with no belts, just a little Reggie, like everybody like to say, just a little Reggie belt, to be able to climb those heights to where everybody want to fight this man. Everybody want to fight this man. Canelo Alvarez can get away with saying he ain't fighting no more Mexicans, but let Tank, because a lot of people knock him, oh man, he don't fight no slick black fighters. When I went over there on the rise, I was asking a question about, okay, well, you know what I'm saying, they say Tank ain't fighting no slick black fighters. Coach Kenny was like, well, name a slick black fighter. And I was like, well, I'm trying to say that, how can you grow up in Baltimore and you ain't ever fought no slick black fighter? And it's just like a city like Philadelphia, where the creme de la creme oftentimes don't even make it out the city. Why? Because you got to go through the ringer. People can't appreciate that somebody beat the odds and went through the ringer and came out to where everybody want to fight. If Canelo was anywhere down in that weight vicinity or could suck himself down, you guarantee he would do it. They say Inoue got plans on doing it ultimately. Now he's about to go get Undisputed. He's chasing legacy, but somehow him and his camp say ultimately they want to see Tank. Bud just won and beat Spence in whatever fashion, whatever version we got, whatever. My man Spence don't make no excuses. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna make no excuses either. He do what he did, and he said he wanted to fight Tank. Yeah, you got up there in them upper classes, but when you got somebody like Bivol who actually beat him, who want to come down to 68 and see him, he don't want to do that. But he'll pull Jermell Charlo up to take that fight. And then rumor has it, word on the street is who we about to fight next. I don't want to get into it. But I'm just saying, when people talk about pick, choose, and refuse, to be in the spot that Tank Davis has made it to, where Inoue would fight you if given an opportunity, Bud will fight you if given an opportunity. He just said it. Even after he said he wouldn't go get Canelo, he was saying, all right, well, yeah, I had a change of heart. Then he was saying, oh, yeah, I'll go up there. And a lot of people is still saying this weight class for a reason. Now, they'll keep riding on the point that Jermell Charlo jumped up there and didn't have no business up there because nothing translated. I say that was more so of Jermell Charlo's numbers, his activity. He wasn't his normal self. I know my boxer. I know the favorite fighters that I watch. because I'm a statistic-driven guy. This is not opinion-based content. But when you think about it, they'll turn right around and justify that Bud can do it. Now, I know Bud would let his hands go, but to make that any point that you said, every time you said him Jermell Charlo jumping up 2 weight classes was wrong, you can't turn right back around and say 3 classes is even better because it's Bud. That just show you that you need some flip-flops. You need one of these handlebars. You need some knee pads that I be selling. That's what you need. And I got it for the low. But I was saying, shoot, if it's okay for Inoue to move up 2 more weight classes after moving up 5 for a total of 8 to see Tank, and it'd be okay for Tank to move up, what, 2 more to go see Bud? If that's what we doing, I know my man to show up and let his hands go. I know he will. Instincts to take over. I think being shorter is always to his advantage, not to his disadvantage, even though he's always at a disadvantage, whether it's height, reach. But most of the time, it's not skills, it's not footwork. He probably got the best footwork in the game. Especially when you look at how Barrios looked compared to Ugas in stature. What Barrios was able to do with Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman didn't put him out, and then what Tank was able to do. But they always discredit, oh man, it was rehydration, it was this. You never hear that when it comes down to Canelo though. But they are both tied in the conversation to face of boxing. You see where I'm going with this? Do you see where I'm going with this? Shout out to Cookie Monster. Body work. But I'm just wondering, you know what I'm saying? Like, these are the things that I'm seeing and hearing in the sport of boxing. So it's like, it depends on what your agenda is now to dictate whether or not I even want to comment, man. Because, I mean, somewhere along the line, people are going to show and tell what the agenda is and what they're speaking on, what it's really about. But if we want to be honest, the man is always in the conversation for the face of boxing. We see that Canelo is on his way out, you know what I'm saying? And he said he won't fight any Mexicans. Let Tank come on and say, I ain't even fighting no slick black fighters. But that's the only thing that's on the docket for him to fight. And they'll say, oh, well, Canelo already did it. But it's like, okay, well, you got to be able to listen to what the suit said because they got control over it. You can't blame that man for being like, people be wanting to get put in these positions, in these places, to be able to make this money and do this and this and that. But when somebody has mastered their craft and they have made themselves a household name and a commodity in the sport, you really can't argue with what the suits are doing. You can express your opinion as a fan, but you can't argue with it. It's like if you got a business, if you got a channel, if you got whatever, nobody can come over there and tell you how to run business. It's 2 different things. But then people, you know, for somebody like Tank, because I believe he is about legacy, but because he's the quote-unquote cash cow in the lower weight division, I mean, I would say he is the cash cow. He just need more, he need more pieces of information to come out. He need more fights and things like that to really show, to really bring that thing home. But I think he's right there. That was just the tip of the iceberg of what just happened. So he's making a strong case. People will knock him because that's how it's perceived, because he don't go fighting and chasing for belts. But then on the contrary, you have somebody like Naoya Inoue, who all he's doing is going for legacy. Moved up. He's in his 5th weight division. Get ready to get undisputed in 12, 13 months. Back to back, double undisputed. He's getting ready to duplicate what Terrence Crawford just did. You talking about title defenses and this and this and that, and you'll have people discount him and say, oh man, he ain't nobody. Nah, man, he's overrated. They were saying that before Fulton, and they had him on the pound for pound list, and they still out here saying he's overrated. So I'm like, how can you, like, what are we talking about? You can't hate both. You can't hate Tank and Inoue. You can, but then we got to start questioning, what are you judging the sport by? What are we judging the criteria on? Then you gotta ask, okay, well, if you're looking at your favorite fighter, and I'm not even gonna say no names, but it's two names in particular who I know has always had the height, always had the reach, always had the size advantage over everybody they fought. It's like, what are we comparing it to then? But these are conversations that people don't really want to have. But you can't deny this man anyway chasing greatness in December. He's adding on to chasing the greatness in December. And I got a episode, according to my old head, coming up. I've already laid out the foundation with my old head K, and we're going to break that down as far as what happened this year as far as the big fights. And it's going to be a good episode. And once again, anyway, it's right back at it in December. Getting right back to it. Coming off a hand injury pre-fortune, was able to dispatch, you know what I'm saying, his opponent abruptly, and is right back at it to get 2 more belts and continue driving on. You gotta salute that. You don't hear nobody talking about that. You don't hear anybody talking about that. You don't hear anybody really talking about Bivol now. I'm seeing that the WBC was saying that the whole Russian thing that was going on, that whole thing, that Bivol could have appealed that, and they could have did something about that. And I'm like, yeah, because this man has been frozen. I even heard somebody, I think it was last week, I heard somebody saying, oh man, Bivol, he's overrated, man. He's not really, you know what I'm saying? He's not this. And I'm like, how can you say that when, that's why I say, like, why are people still standing in line to fight Canelo? Other than the payday. Why are people still standing in that line? Because if you beat him, you're not even going to get your just due for beating him. And people pick, choose, and refuse that conversation when it comes to Bivol, but a lot of people say, oh man, he ain't all that. I don't know why he ain't on my pound for pound list. I'm like, but how's Canelo? Like, I don't understand. If you beat somebody on the pound for pound list, how do you not get on it? They did that when T.O. did it, and T.O. beat Loma up. Comparatively, by the numbers, by everything, by abuse, everything. T.O. beat Loma up better than somebody else here recently. You know what I'm saying? I started looking at the praise that Lomachenko. I'm like, why is everybody shoving Canelo and Lomachenko down everybody's throat right now at this point in time? I start thinking, why is that? Like, who cares about Lomachenko right now? Like, who cares if Shakur fights Lomachenko? That's not who we wanted Shakur to fight. But I started realizing, like, people got these agendas. It's like out of the blue. Last week and all this week, people been saying, oh man, Lomachenko. Oh, he won't fight Lomachenko. Oh yeah, Tank's done. Like, at this point in time, who is Lomachenko? Who is he right now? Who's gonna get credit? But I noticed that these things get regurgitated all the time. Ain't nobody worried about Lomachenko right now. Ain't nobody worried about that, man. He could fight whoever, like, whatever, man. Like, wasn't nobody pushing for him and Shakur. Like, Shakur, Bob came out and said they turned down the money. Like, you know what I'm saying? He also clarified some things about that whole money, that whole thing with Frank. We would have loved to see Frank versus Shakur. You know what I'm saying? We would have settled for Shakur versus Lomachenko. But we already knew that wasn't in the cards. And like I said before, I think I said on my second to last live, I said, you know what? All of my energy now, from now on, is going to be towards the fights where the two fighters want to fight each other. Where they want to fight each other. It ain't no use in getting out in front of it and being, you know what I'm saying, putting the pom-poms on and you know what I'm saying, standing in the gap and forward for certain people when they don't even let you know that they really even want to do it. And that goes both ways, in action and in word. You can't come out and say, "Oh man, that's not a fight I'm really in a rush to," and then send a low. Like 1 + 1 don't always equal 2, I guess. You can't come out and verbally say that's not a fight that I'm in the rush to make right now. We homies, and then send a low ball offer. It's like you just said I'm not in a rush, and then you send something what somebody would deem as a low ball offer. That's words and an action, but that's acceptable. Either way, it's over with. Because once again, you're going to go chase legacy and going to go, so that kind of equates to all that. But the extra to try to kind of prove and make that a solid standing point, it's like, stop it, man. It's like that's distracting to your case when you're trying to make an argument to see the creme de la creme get in the ring. It's crazy how we pick and choose when we want to remember this, the business side, and when we just want to talk about the sport. But most of the time, when you go online and you try to look up some boxing, it ain't about the sport. It's all about the business and the drama around it. I be trying to have tunnel vision and say, all right, look, man, what if we disagree on that? But what if we still want to see the fight? How do we get around to pushing the envelope on the fact that we want to see Devin versus Shakur, or Tank versus Devin, or Tank versus Shakur? How do we get around to that? But aside from, oh man, no, you shoulda, coulda. How do we see Shakur and Frank, and instead of saying, oh man, it was his fault, regurgitating this and that? No, how do we get around that to actually see the fight take place? What's the solution? I hear wise people who know the law. I hear people who know everything and they know more than CompuBox. I hear all these people, two sides of the same coin, might I add you. I hear all these people, but I never hear the solution. Cookie Monster, shout out to Cookie Monster. She say, preach, 100 emoji. Little Cookie Monster. But yeah, I'm like, how do we get around to the solution? Like, because you can always pick something. I mean, you start watching and listening, and you can always pick out something that you don't really like or don't really care for. You can't be distracted that you don't really like or don't really care for. But where it becomes a problem is when it's regurgitated over and over and over again. And you got to think, just like these advertisements, these illustrations, these signs, these symbols, these activities, these behaviors that's always put in front of our vision, always getting locked in our broker. Why is it done repetitively? It's to program you. Because if you hear somebody say the same thing the same way over and over again, think about those hit singles on the radio that at first you never liked. You never liked it. You're like, oh man, this whack, this song stupid, man, this song, man. But you hear it enough, you start nodding your head, then you like, then you might catch a little hooky part, then you might actually listen to the words, then you might, you know what I'm saying? It'll grow on you. But when you hear somebody say the same thing over and over and over again, it's like, okay, if you made that, who are you catering to? It's the casual person. It's the person who ain't on top of it all the time, who ain't been listening and watching and studying and keeping an eye on everything. It's the casual person who don't get to hear everything. They don't got the time, so they got to rely on somebody else who's going to go grab it and spoon feed it to them. That's why you hear it over and over again. It's advertisement. It is programming. You got to train your mind to say, oh, okay, all right, well, when they on this, I just got to zone out. You know what I'm saying? Eat the fish, spit out the bones on that one. And you get down to the heart of what they saying. When you get down to the heart of what they really saying, it ain't really about much. It ain't really about nothing. It's a whole lot of fuss. No solutions. No solutions. No answers. Nothing to solve our dilemma. Just a bunch of whining and crying and complaining. Oh man, boxing. I've been said boxing was on life support, man. It was in critical condition. I didn't cry about it. I started saying, I even went to one time, I went to this old head and I was saying, hey man, you know what I'm saying? I be watching, and you know what I'm saying? It seems like you got a lot of good, you know what I'm saying? I like the mindset, you know what I'm saying? But I don't see no solutions, OG. You know what he did? He came for me. He said I was trying to use him for clout and all this. I said, good gracious, like I ain't even say nothing disrespectful. Oh, yeah, man, you trying to clout up on me. It's real hard when you don't got this many members. I was like, man, OG, I said, you got a lot of good perspectives on things, you know what I'm saying? But I don't really hear any solutions. He said I was trying to clout up on him. I said, man, like when the OG start, you know what I'm saying, sounding like the Migos, anything for clout. Like when they start, you know what I'm saying, it's like it's over. So now no matter how old you are, how young you are, how often you know what I'm saying, speak about it, however, you catering to the casuals, man. We should start going deeper in the sport, man, and start recognizing not just who you favor, because there's a lot of silly arguments being made, man. I seen people talking about how Wilder was tore down and how he was ridiculed and how this after his defeat. But they doing it those very same people are doing it simultaneously, tearing down Spence right now. And Spence was the one who made the fight happen. It's like a concerted, concentrated effort to come out and just all over this man every day. In some kind of way, it's like, man, hold on. When I look at it, man, Errol Spence didn't pull a Ryan Garcia. He didn't quit. The referee had to say, all right, man, you done had enough. He never stopped swinging. Whether he was hitting the target, whether everything has slowed down for him, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, no matter what, no matter how bad that thing looked, Earl never quit. And we got people just taking up on him. When he gave Bud the opportunity, he made it happen. It's like, granted, he lost, and I understood the memes, I understood all of that, but the ridicule. But y'all was crying when people were doing that to Wilder. But every day you make a concerted effort just all over Spence. I don't get it. So it's just one of those things that we picking and choosing, man. It's just we just picking and choosing, man. Let's try to stay sucker free. You know what I'm saying? If you in there and you see a whole bunch of yes men, a whole bunch of wrenches, a whole bunch of this, you hear Tim Bradley, and people agreeing with what Tim Bradley said, and before and after the fight, it's like, come on, man, well, you a company man too. Don't get mad at Bernard Hopkins when he drops some truth. Don't get mad at Antonio Tarver when he dropped that truth. And guess what? I always say, hey, man, Bob loves to talk. Sometimes he's telling the truth. We got to admit that sometimes Bob Arum be telling the truth. You can't pick and choose when you wanna, you know what I'm saying, agree with what he's saying. You can't do that. I think Eddie the same way. Sometimes Eddie be doing some golden things, but then sometimes you be like, hold on, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I never understood why Eddie ain't getting no heat. He would get heat for everything else, but when it came down to Devin, he ain't getting no heat. Victor Conte, he would get heat for everything else, but the same affiliation with certain fighters, he don't get no heat. He's been exonerated. He clean as a whistle now. And when I heard somebody that support a certain fighter come out and say that they believe Victor is still clean as a whistle, I said, oh man, I get it. But then don't talk about other people when they be saying let's stay on code then. And you're like, nah, ain't no code. Then don't do it, because we understand you on code as a company man or whatever, you know what I'm saying? But I'm talking to the hardcores right now. Don't get distracted by that, man. Look at big picture. How do we get these dudes in the ring fighting? That's at the end of the day, if it don't round out to all of that, if it's all just you was wrong about this, I was right about this, and let me stick my... How do we get more of those guys in the ring? What's the solution to getting them in there? Not where people went wrong, not missed opportunities, not, oh man, this duck. How do we get them in the ring? Where are the answers at? Where's the boxing think tank that can use their influence to be able to help us as fans get the ones that we want in the ring and not just online arguing? How do we get down to the solutions? What do we gotta do? Man, I seen Beck the Bully, man. I had him in the first or the second. I see he got rid of his man, Alantez Fox. That was an uphill battle for Alantez Fox, man, I tell you. But I'm looking at this Joe Smith and Zerto right now. And it's in the 7th. Opening of the 7th, you know what I'm saying? Got Joe Smith on the back foot. Getting hit with the jab. Getting hit with the single shot, 1, 2. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what's going to be the outcome of this, but I've just been figuring out that we gotta stay focused, man. We gotta be solution oriented people, man. I saw something this week, and I said this was gonna happen before, right? Because I did if you go back and look at my video about Devin and Regis, I called it Dreams and Nightmares. Look at the date on that thumbnail and look at when I put it. So that whole Dreams and Nightmares, look at the first video you see with Dreams and Nightmares. Go back and look at that. But I said, I heard something this week, and I said, you know what? This is one of the most disgusting things that happens in the sport. I've been hearing a lot of people talking about Devin was going to win against Regis because Regis' boxing IQ isn't this and that. And the caller had called in about the Jamel Charlo and the Canelo thing. They had called in. A caller had called in on this one show and was saying he was basically voicing his opinion, like, why does boxing IQ and all that, why does that always come up? And it actually was alarming to me because I heard that from somebody that say that they rock with Regis. Like, man, I rock with Regis, you know what I'm saying, this and this and this. But I don't, his boxing IQ. I'm like, why do we do that? When has anybody ever questioned Regis' boxing IQ? He got a style. He is a puncher, but he got a style. And it's a different style. He's the Rougarou. He kind of, he box. It's a different style. But you can't knock out that many people without no kind of IQ. And you got people like how Berlanga was doing it. Just boom. You know what I'm saying? Going in there, boom. But when you got to box and fight your way back into fights and you figure out a way and you might have took you might have took some water in the ship and then you figured out, that take an IQ to actually do that. That's not just throwing the dart out there. If so, everybody be doing that. And you see what happened to people who just go out there and blindly throw haymakers. They get timed, they get stepped back throwing an uppercut, they get slept. You know what I'm saying? But I found it odd that this was the week where I actually heard somebody say, oh, no, man. Regis and his boxing IQ. Man, stay sucker free, man. Like Broner say, you know what I'm saying? Like that face Broner got right there, like stay sucker free, man. Don't buy the hype. And if you like a fighter, that don't mean you gotta spend all your time trashing the other one, man. Like we do this all the time. But what if we still want to see Regis versus Tank? Just keep it a buck on the matchup. And had the proof, because right now ain't nobody breaking down no kind of numbers to show how this is. Ain't nobody breaking why, because those numbers, they're not going to benefit the argument. Those numbers, like when you look at Regis numbers and you go look at, you know what I'm saying, Devin numbers, they're gonna have to insult Regis and pull down and kind of make you have a question mark on Regis, but they're not gonna be able to break down anything factual other than a strong opinion as to how and why it's gonna be so one-sided, like Devin saying it's gonna be. We gotta stop it. Because if we ain't honest, if you ain't honest, the same thing that's gonna happen to Fulton against Inoue. How Fulton was saying Inoue was a hype job, and I'm saying I don't see a hype job. Have you studied the footage? Do you know his stats? Have you looked at his CompuBot? Like, have you seen how he make adjustments and do all that? You call this man a hype job, so when he beats you, people are gonna come back around and say you got beat by a hype job. So let's just say, like the people that are saying right now that we just got this low boxing IQ and all that, even though he's able to get his man out of there, if he were to stop Devin Haney, you know, we're going to come back and say, hey, man, you got stopped by a dude who had a low boxing IQ according to your people. The video is still up. According to your people. That's why you got to stay sucker free, man. The way I be thinking, I'm like, man, if I do it by myself, all by myself, ain't gonna be nobody there to tell on me. So these opinions are the opinions of bodywork boxing. Regis do not have, you go in there thinking that performance that you got, that Regis put on was a Rilla, or that Regis don't have a high boxing IQ if you want to. You can be sadly mistaken. And when everybody say, oh man, yeah, you know, it's almost like how people had the ability to pick beats, like the difference between Nas and Jay-Z, and how Jay-Z just got a better beat selection than Nas, because Nas done featured and done songs on instrumentals that he had no business getting on, and you hardly ever heard Jay-Z on a beat or a track that he shouldn't have got on. They're gonna say, oh yeah, it was your opponent's selection. And I think the push for Loma, the whole push for Loma is to get somebody else on the books to see how they compare against Loma. No, people don't really care about Lomachenko. And at that stage, yes, that was an incredible win because of the legacy and all that, but that's almost like one of them things that is going to age well because you share an opponent with that caliber of person. But people who've been watching Lomachenko and watching the moves and how it's been done, it's like, yeah, was it the time? Did you catch him at the right time? Because according to those numbers and what people saw, I had a 7-5 myself. But according to how you looked at that fight and scored that fight, I had Devin winning. But according to how you look at it or whatever, that was like, yeah, that was a notch on the belt, but it was by the hair of your chinny chin chin. It is what it is. Now, I'm not going to throw out CompuBox just because you say, oh man, this is one man with a clicker, and because you slowed it down and you watch people get knocked down and you counted to 16.5 Mississippi before they got like, stop it. Stop it. You know what I'm saying? Stay sucker free, man. At all costs. It don't cost you nothing to stay sucker free. It might save you some headaches. Who knows? We got to be real when we start having these boxing conversations. And you can't go down that big broad street that everybody want to. More than likely, you know, that most of the time when you get down to the treasure map, what's really going on, it's not down that big broad. If 90% of the people are on this big broad highway going this way, you know you're going in the wrong direction. And that's what I've been having to do with boxing now. I've been listening, eating the fish, spitting out the bone. Seeing this agenda, that agenda, who's got this? Oh, yeah, they loyal to these. Okay, I know what that is. With my eye on the prize. My eye on the prize. And surprisingly, this is also what I've been seeing. Even though nobody really followed De Los Santos and the grenade and all this, check my video I did back in December last year on it, and then check my video I did recently on it. You know what I'm saying about, you know, this De Los Santos report. I've been seeing a lot of people building up De Los Santos now. It's like, oh well, if nobody know him, and this is right after, like, don't nobody know him. And as another week went by, and the second week went by, and now everybody, oh man, De Los Santos probably knocked him out. It's like, we know the agenda. Hopefully it's a good fight. Hopefully it is a good fight. And I do understand that Shakur got his hands full with De Los Santos. Let's just watch and see how these conversations just shift and change, how this stock get brought up. Because George Kambosos, his stock went up. Why Shakur ain't going and fight and chase after George Campbell? Why he ain't disrespect? It's like, stop it, man. We don't want to see that. We don't even want to see it, so it don't matter. Don't manipulate their stock, man. Y'all was on the stock market, man. I don't know what charge that would be when you actually basically inflating the stock to try to sell it. And I'm like, stop it, man. You inflating and deflating stocks. You playing with the stock market, man. These fighters are live human beings, man. And they do have a worth, of course, to what their resumes say, what their pay scales are, but you know, the purses they make and how they perceive as far as the powers that be and making them move in that ring. They got a value. And it is, and the value is what it is. We can't balloon them up. We gotta stop trying to fatten up the value of a Lomachenko at this point in this career. Devin get full credit for it. You know what I'm saying? That was his childhood dream, right? To beat his guy, Lomachenko, the guy, the Matrix, whatever. That's all he keeps saying. The guy that they call the Matrix, this and this. And that was always been his dream to get in there and do that. He finally got it. But let's not fatten up the stock of Lomachenko. Let's not balloon up the stock of Canelo. Because if you on video talking about how Jermell Charlo was dumb and stupid for moving up, and if the fight didn't make no sense, we're not going to make Canelo Alvarez be the baddest man on the planet because Jermell Charlo left his hands in the locker room. We're not going to do that. We're not going to say that Bud is the baddest man on the planet and he don't got to fight nobody but this, and he can pick and choose and refuse when Earl Spence has a rematch. He has unfinished business. And if he's going to be deliberate and not want to fight, let this man, EJ, have the grace of being able to move on and go do whatever it is he's going to go do with his career. He's not going to, EJ know, man, he ain't going to play around, man. He's not going to play around. He need to be able to make a decision on what's next and move on to the next chapter. If it's a rematch or not. The sooner we know, the better it will be for the fans, because that Bud Spence conversation, man, it got me not even want to go certain places because of all the politics around it. Nobody want to keep it 100 on both sides. It'll just become an argument of the same thing on everybody's show every time the conversation come up. Memorization, regurgitation. But it's like this thing gonna go the distance. It's in the 10th right now with 2 minutes left. I've been watching as I've been talking, but like them rounds been going about fast. I figure I'll put out something out here, man, and see. You know what I'm saying? If anybody's gonna be willing to touch the boxing, but if you catch this on the playback, make sure you update the notification. You know what I'm saying? I know I was shadow banned for a little while or something, I think. And if you catch this on a playback, hit the like button. Show some support by hitting the like button. I'm still growing. Remember, this is the alternative to opinion-based content. This is actually a fact-based channel. We don't do yes men. You don't have to agree with everything I say. I just want you to consider what I'm saying and use some common sense like you do in life. Not like how you do when you online in character. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm asking from everybody, man. I don't think that's too much to ask. But if you hit the subscribe button and you rock with your boy, or you know what I'm saying, you like the perspective, whatever, let somebody know. I find out how people be disagreeing and putting out, you know what I'm saying, statements or whatever, doing rebuttals, but you never say, hey, what's up when you over here, when you look at the video. That's kind of odd. You don't be watching them. Right. Anyways, I'm under the weather. I know y'all can hear that congestion or whatever, man. I just wanted to get out here and show my face. This fight is going the distance. Like 10 seconds left. And I figure I'll put out something, man, and just talk about a couple things. You know what I'm saying? Just talk about a couple things. Hey, Bernard Hopkins did an interview here recently. I want you to go look at what he was saying, man. Go look at that interview Bernard Hopkins did on one of them ones, like fight something. Go look at that video and listen to what Bernard was saying, man. He was dropping some jewels. But he been on both sides. He been the guy inside the ring. Now he over there with Golden Boy doing this thing, and so he got different hats that he can wear in different perspectives. Antonio Tarver be having some good takes too. I think I did a Tarver's take a long time ago. So go check them out. You get a shot or a chance. You know what I'm saying? And thanks for everybody who came through and you know what I'm saying, paid attention to Holla at your boy. I'm gonna go ahead. That's all for the day, man. I thought somebody might have had boxing smoke. I had a question. Wanted to get in the hot seat. You know what I'm saying? Wanted to do some light sparring, heavy sparring, bare knuckle. Thanks for tuning in here at Bodywork Boxing. We don't take things for face value. We do that body work.